This episode of Sideline Warning is brought to you by Roosport, makers of the original magnetic running pouch. Whether you're biking, running, hiking, or even traveling, the Roosport clips to your waistband with magnets for an easy, convenient way to carry what you need without the bulk of belts or bags. Visit theroosport.com and use the code SIDELINE30, all lowercase, for 30% off their entire product line. Again, that's theroosport.com, promo code SIDELINE30. And now on with the show.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is Sideline Warning, the show where sports takes are sure to go way too far into the field. Here to recap this week's biggest and best sports stories are your hosts, Dave Adams, Ben Foster, and Adam Russell.
Everybody, welcome into episode 43 of Sideline Warning. As always, you've got your host with the most, the golden voice of the Southeast, the one, the only, Dave Adams, coming to you live and in living color from Harvest, Alabama. And as always, I've brought my friends along. First off, all the way down from Birmingham, Alabama, the one, the only Hollywood Ben Foster. What's going on, Ben?
Hey, Dave.
Hey, Ben.
Not much is going on.
Any good music things? Did you go to Pilgrimage this weekend?
I did not go to Pilgrimage, but I did go to Atlanta, where I got to see my favorite band in the entire world, Dawes.
Rainbow Kitten Surprise?
No, not Rainbow Kitten Surprise. They're fun, but they're not my favorite band. Not by a long shot. My favorite band is Dawes, and I got to see them over the weekend. So in one weekend, I had Bama beat Texas A&M, the Braves clinch the division, and I got to see my favorite band. That's a pretty good weekend.
That is a good weekend, but I guarantee you didn't have as event-filled a weekend as me and our other co-host, all the way down from the House of Mouse, from Yeehaw Junction, from Howie in the Hills, from Chilota, Astatula, Maitland, from, let me see if I say it right this week, DeBerry, St. Cloud, Adam Russell. What's going on, Adam?
Not much, man. You actually were at a few of those places.
I was.
This past weekend.
We were just an exit away from Yeehaw Junction and, of course, in St. Cloud. So I got to see all these fun little suburbs I always point out.
What is in Yeehaw Junction? I'm very curious.
Exactly what you would think would be in Yeehaw Junction.
Lots of horses
and
cowboys?
Small, yeah, pretty much.
Hitching posts.
Yeah, we were driving
saloons.
down the turnpike. Yeah, it's literally our exit at my house is the last exit on the turnpike before you're all the way to Yeehaw Junction, and there's nothing between us and them. And we were driving down the turnpike, and there's a sign that says next exit like something miles Yeehaw Junction. It was like, oh my God, Yeehaw Junction! I actually know where that is, So
well, of course, this was also at 1 o'clock in the morning, and I was kind of delirious from traveling for 6 hours.
Even better because of that.
So. So Adam and I don't know if Adam is this way, but I think I got about 6 hours of sleep the combined weekend because Adam forced me to stay at Halloween Horror Nights till 2:30 in the morning, Sunday morning. No, force might not be the right way to say it. I willingly did it because it was an awesome event. If you get a chance to do it because it's awesome. But I'm tired. And just for those
what was the best haunted house?
Honestly, so I'll tell you what I wanted to go for. The reason I decided to go to Horror Nights this year was because Stranger Things was coming. Stranger Things ended up being my fourth favorite.
Really?
It's a tie between Scary Tales, which is kind of a twisted version of Hans Christian Andersen's Tales, or Poltergeist. The Poltergeist house was incredible. And just for any of y'all who know me, I did not jump scare the entire trip. Adam can attest to that.
It's because he was too busy touching me in the arm and stuff like that at random points to make me jump instead.
That's more than I needed to know.
Well, he was the lookout though. He could see everything that was happening like 100 yards in front of us because of his height. But hey, it's funny to see the perspective too, because I agree, Scary Tales was one of the best ones. But my top would be tied between Stranger Things and Halloween 4. And a lot of people are balking at Halloween 4, but Halloween is it's a soft spot for me because of me and my wife, and we used to watch that in college, and that's been our favorite horror movie for a long time. Like, that's just something that we used to watch in college a lot together. And so going through that one meant something to me because I've seen it so much, and we've been talking about that movie so long. So it's just funny. Your perspective on what's the best is all around what movies you really know about and like and enjoy and that kind of stuff. So.
And you've never seen Poltergeist, but if you'd seen Poltergeist, you'd realize that you were basically in the last 10 minutes of that movie.
Yeah.
So the way they do these houses, you swear that you're in the movie. It's that good. The Stranger Things, the characters, the actors that get to scare you, they got people that look just like the little boys and girls actors. It was amazing.
So when I said I had a soft spot for Halloween, I got to look from Ben. What was the thought there?
I was just cracking up because most people don't wax romantically over the Halloween movies. I was like he's getting all romantic, but he's also talking about Halloween.
We are, yeah. That's probably the only non poems and flowers type thing that me and Blair probably ever did together. So I'm trying to get her to go now, and this will be the second thing.
So poems, flowers, and Halloween. Okay.
Hanging out with Blair and Adam when they were in college, it was almost like throw up because Pookie, I'll see you later. I love you, Pookie Bear.
I never said Pookie Bear.
Well, just that kind of sick.
Honey, hey sugar. It was that.
Hey sugar.
Hey sugar.
I'll tell you something though that I hoped would not be a horror while Adam and I were at the horror nights.
You hoped it would not be a what?
A horror.
Okay,
while Adam and I
just wanted to clarify.
Yes, while we were at the horror nights,
there's just a lot of spooky things walking around. That's why I had to clarify.
I'm trying to make a segue here, okay?
Enunciate.
Okay. I was hoping that the Alabama-Texas A&M game would not make me shriek in horror because I was hoping that Alabama would play like we thought. And for a little bit of the part, I'd say Alabama did. But I'm going to go out on a limb here and say, as much as y'all were dogging on me, saying how good our defensive backs were last week, because I was saying how bad they were, I have to kind of poke my chest out and say, look, I told you so. There was only a couple of points where the defensive backs looked good. And Patrick Surtain Jr., that interception was amazing. I've never seen a fingertip catch like that from a DB. But if you go back and watch the game, which I rewatched the game, I watched it while I was on my phone at Universal, but I went back and rewatched the game on Sunday when I came home, and it looked like if Kellen Mond had thrown passes and hit targets, our DBs would have been toast. Ben, am I overreacting, or is this?
Yeah, you're overreacting.
Did you see the same thing?
You're overreacting. Look, okay. I mean, Alabama gave up, 23 points? But the defensive backs had a great day. They had, 3 interceptions on the day?
2 interceptions. One of them was a linebacker.
And then, I mean, I'm just saying, the defense as a whole played great. You've got interceptions. There was plenty of coverage. Kellen Mond's a guy who extends plays, and that always is going to make it more difficult for a secondary. Alabama played a great game. That doesn't mean they were perfect. As Coach Saban has requested, everyone needs to say some negative things about the team. but this defense is overachieving right now. To be as shorthanded as they are playing very well. That's not to say they're perfect. That's not to say they're outstanding. That's not to say they are on par with other Alabama defenses of previous years. But I don't think it's fair to dog the secondary right now because they're playing really well.
I agree to disagree. I still think that most of the defense's strong point is the front line and 2 or 3 of the linebackers, and that was shown on Saturday's game. 7 sacks against a Texas A&M team that has a pretty good offensive line is nothing to sneeze at. But where I think that Alabama's defense is lacking is in the run stoppage. When a quarterback can do a quarterback draw for 90 yards, it felt like, there's something going on with the defense. This is not a defense that you're used to seeing. In fact, I made a point to say in line at Universal to one of the people who was asking about the game, I've never had a year in all of my 37 years of watching Alabama football where I could say the offense is what is bringing this team along. But that is what's happening with Alabama. The offense is what's bringing the team along. The defense is just doing enough to hold it together.
For the first time in the Saban era, the offense is making more of a contribution to the wins than the defense is. But to be like, oh, the defense is just along for the ride, like they're just barely bringing it along, you're not really watching the defense. They're playing good football, and when you have a highly mobile quarterback, sometimes those big plays are going to happen. Alabama did a great job containing A&M because people thought that had potential to be a shootout, and they thought that A&M was going to strongly be in this game. And even though A&M played pretty well in this game, they were never really in it. From Alabama took control in the first 50 seconds of the game because the defense set up great field position for the offense, and once Alabama was up 7-0, nobody thought, oh man, A&M's going to win this game. The beginning of the end was already there in the first 60 seconds of the game.
I'll once again agree to disagree. I really think the defense showed flashes of being good. They're young, but the defense also showed flashes of a lot of needed help.
Where did they need help, Dave? Again, I'm not saying they're perfect, but
in secondary coverage, the secondary
listening to you, I would believe that this is like the most flawed defense Alabama has ever had. In fact, it's not even really a defense.
I'm just not drinking the rat poison.
I just think that's really dramatic because they're playing good football. We thought there was a huge potential for this to be a liability, and the defense hasn't been a liability. Adam, what were you saying?
Well, no, this is a Texas A&M team that did hang 500 yards on Clemson too. So I mean, they definitely are an explosive offensive team. I think overall, though, I think that it's partly that the first 3 wins have spoiled us a little bit, and I think we want everything to be 52 to a single-digit number. And I think the fact that the offensive total was low and then we actually let them score 23, a combination of that probably brings out the fan in all of us where we're like, well, that's not as wide of a margin as this game should have been given how it looked. But when they only really scored 2 touchdowns, everything else was field goals. Yeah, they're driving on us, but our defense bends, but they didn't break. And I think if they hadn't scored that touchdown in the fourth quarter and we would have blanked him in a goose egg and they hadn't have gone over 20 points, I think we all would have said that this is a complete and total domination. But I've heard, Dave isn't the only person I've heard that from. The overall feeling that I get, not just from Saban, but from the fan base as a whole, is that, man, this one, if the offense hadn't showed up, this one would have been scary, And I think, I think that's more because we know this team could have beaten Texas A&M 52-0, and they didn't. And I don't know, Dave. Are you nervous watching this game because you watched it again? I mean, we watched what we could in line, right? Do you look at this and think, what is LSU going to do? Do you look at this and think, what is Auburn going to do? Or are you looking past that to saying, if we don't fix these things and mature, then Ohio State becomes a problem down the road?
Right.
Like where's the point where you think the defense as it performed on Saturday isn't going to be up to the task of handling somebody?
It'll be in one of the playoff games because no one coming up has a quarterback now like Kellen Mond. No one in the month of September, no one in the month, well, now the one more game in September, no one in the month of October. When we get to LSU's a statue quarterback. Stidham can run, but he doesn't have a good pocket presence to run. Georgia's got a statue as a quarterback. Ohio State's got a runner. Clemson's got. I think the only team that really scares me now is Ohio State because everybody else has a statue as a quarterback, and that's what Alabama beats. If Alabama plays the way they played against Texas A&M, Ohio State could expose Alabama. And I hate saying that because I don't want to. I hate Ohio State this year.
I don't know who can expose Alabama though. I mean, because again, the offense is doing more than the defense is contributing to the wins. I agree with you there, but I don't know how you can expose Alabama. Alabama hangs on and wins. I don't know that Alabama. I really don't know what team could beat Alabama right now if they continue to play like they're playing. And I do think Saban's got a point. There's a lot of things that could be improved upon on both sides of the ball.
So you say you don't know anybody that can beat Alabama. Any given Saturday, anybody can beat anybody. Look at what happened to Kentucky and Mississippi State. No one gave Kentucky a puncher's chance, and you know where, and they won.
I thought that was ripe for upset. Kentucky's got a good team.
Okay, no one gave Old Dominion a puncher's chance in Hades, but they beat Virginia Tech.
Yeah, but Old Dominion's not going to come in here and beat Alabama next week.
You say that, but it's happened before. Remember, Saban lost to Louisiana Monroe as
easy, Tim Brando.
As Adam's friend so wonderfully put it on Twitter on Sunday.
But that was Saban's first year. At no point in the years since was a Saban team going to lose to something like a Louisiana Monroe. After year one, there was
any given Saturday, anything can happen.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose, the team bus could wreck and they could just not make it to the game. Well,
that could happen too. But you talk about Kellen Mond. We know that he was probably the offensive player of the game. But a stat that no one's talking about, and a stat that blew my mind when I looked at it Saturday night after the game was over, Texas A&M's punter is the reason Alabama only scored 45 points. And why, you ask? He had 5 punts for an average of 60.8 yards. So Alabama was continually playing on a long field where Alabama was normally used to playing on a short field. I think that is probably the biggest reason Alabama did not get 50 points this week.
Yeah, Waddle's longest return was 15 yards.
Right.
So against an average of 60, I mean, you're not even really putting us in a good position if you're not getting more than that.
And he only returned 2 of them too.
2, yeah.
So
I was really impressed. I just kept thinking, there's that's J.K. Scott out there. I was like it's like he didn't go to the Packers, he went to A&M.
See, it's Braden Mann. I'm looking up to see what class he is. If he is a junior, so they've got him for 1 more year. We might be looking at the best punter in the country right there. I'm looking. He only had 2 punts. He did not play in 17. He only had 2 punts in 16, and even then he averaged 47. He's had 14 punts this year and an average of 54.9. His long is a 73-yard punt.
That's not bad.
Grown man. That's a grown man leg right there. Skylar DeLong, you need to take some notes because I'll tell you, I was excited when Skylar DeLong committed to Alabama. I thought that he was going to be the next J.K. Scott. But Skylar DeLong, we had 6 punts, and he only averaged 36 yards.
Yeah, for the season, he's averaging 36 exactly.
That's horrible.
Perhaps he has not made the longest kicks possible.
Oh, dear.
I have been waiting for so long for you to do that. It's almost like you put it on a tee for me and I kicked it off. Dave's in disbelief. He sat back.
Dave's the long snapper for all of your jokes now, Ben.
I can't even. Okay.
Here's my big takeaway. Here's my big takeaway from Saturday, and I know you guys are going to disagree with this, but I've got to say it. My big takeaway from Saturday is we now know who the second best team is in the SEC West and the SEC East. I think it's Texas A&M in the West, and I think it's Kentucky in the East. If I'm ranking the SEC, I go Bama, Texas A&M, and then in the East I go Georgia, Kentucky.
As it stands today, yeah.
No, LSU's undefeated.
Yeah, but A&M's only losses are to teams that are ranked higher than LSU.
But LSU beat two teams in the top 10.
I'm just saying I don't know that LSU is going to be able to hang with A&M.
One of those though was a Miami team that we all said was overrated.
That's true.
Where's Miami ranked right now?
I don't think they are.
Uh-huh.
Okay. Well, 2 things I want to talk about.
Well, no, if you don't think I'm right, who would you say are the 2 second place teams?
Alabama, then LSU, and then Georgia then I'd agree with you there, Kentucky right
So
now.
we do think
Georgia, and then a
Kentucky's
mishmash of whoever you want to pick, right?
Right. So here are the two things I want to talk about. So a stat that stood out in my mind that I saw Saturday night, and I had to screen capture it. Alabama football is outscoring its opponents 215-51. That's a plus of 164 points this season. The best mark in football, of course, and its best point and differential through 4 games since 1979, when the Bear and his team was 170 points to the plus. That 79 team, led by Bear Bryant, went 12-0 and won the national title.
So when is our defense going to show up then?
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Then the other question I've got. So we know that Alabama plays a scrub Saturday, and that really Tua hasn't played in the fourth quarter in any game this year. The next 4 games are Louisiana Lafayette, Arkansas, Missouri, and then Tennessee. Here's my question to you two gentlemen. Will Tua Tagovailoa play in the fourth quarter of any game before the LSU game on November 2nd or November 3rd?
Well, Dave, in football, anything could happen. No, I mean, maybe if somehow Jalen Hurts and Mac Jones and Jay Barker's kid are all injured, Tua plays in the fourth quarter. Again, at that point, I think you should probably snap the ball to Damian Harris. But but no, I don't think we see Tua in the fourth quarter unless Saban does it just as an exercise, just to say he needed some snaps just to get over fatigue.
Yeah.
So let me ask you guys this: if he doesn't play in the fourth quarter, that means Jalen's coming in.
Right.
This will be Jalen's 5th game, which means the red shirt's off the table.
Right.
What
If.
is the plan with Jalen at that point?
If
I think Jalen stays. I think the bane of my existence as a color man, Gary Danielson said it best on Sunday or Saturday. He said, apparently Jalen has made up in his mind the best way for him to get to the NFL is to learn under Dan Enos. He might not get to play, but if you learn under Dan Enos, who is a very good quarterbacks coach, then you might have a better shot than going and playing in some running gun offense where you're just going to be a running quarterback. At Alabama, they're going to want you to be a dual threat, run and pass. If you go to a smaller school, you're just going to be put in that shoehorn of a running quarterback, an option quarterback, and the NFL won't see that. At least at Alabama, he has a chance to work on his arm. At smaller schools, he won't have that ability.
people have talked for years about how Alabama has an embarrassment of riches, but the idea that Alabama could just use the fourth quarter for the next month as like a warm-up session to improve on NFL passing skills, that's absurd.
It's a little embarrassing for the other team, not for us.
I mean, I honestly would say, going back to your question, Dave, that 4-game stretch, I think Missouri might actually be the best chance of any. If we had to say one of those two has to play in the fourth to make sure that the gap is wide enough to justify bringing in the backups. Given how many Missouri hung on Georgia and the fact that Georgia's 2 defensive touchdowns made the difference in that game,
and
that would be the one I would pick.
I mean, Missouri's got a great passing quarterback, and Alabama doesn't have a secondary. So it really seems like
very true.
It really seems like that would be ripe for a fourth quarter.
That is very true. At least you're finally starting to see it my way, Ben.
Here's the thing. Tua has not played in the fourth quarter at all this season, and the thing he will always be most remembered for is one pass play in the fourth quarter or in overtime.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that's crazy. The last thing I want to talk about this game before we go in and talk about Roo Sport is our running game an issue to you gentlemen? Because we have good running backs, but I don't think we've had our back hit 100 in a long time. Damian Harris only had 52 yards. Najee only had 43 yards. Josh Jacobs had 11 yards. We haven't had and Damian Harris came back for his senior year. to be the featured back. Damian's not getting the ball a lot. Najee's not getting the ball a lot. It's almost like we're turning into Florida, where you throw the ball around and the run game is an afterthought.
Well, I don't think Saban has forgotten how to run the ball. I think that's what he still wants to do. And sometimes when you see decline like that, there's a lot of different factors, and sometimes these guys are dinged up more than they want to let on. And there can be something like that that's holding them back. So it's possible that, Damian Harris and Najee Harris are not 100% physically. And, give them a few weeks where they're having less of a load, and then they're back to form here. That's always possible. But I think what it really comes down to is the offensive line. I think, Dave, if you want to say the secondary is our biggest liability, I actually want to say the offensive line's the biggest liability. If you really put some pressure on the offensive line, then Tua's got to do all of the work. And I think with a little bit better blocking, you can have a much better run game.
I'd agree with that. I think the offensive line is decent. It's winnable. You can win with this offensive line, but I think that this offensive line is maybe one of the top 5 worst in Saban's era. That's saying something because, Alabama's always got a good offensive line, but this isn't the best offensive line Saban's had at Alabama.
Dave, if you'll just clarify that the offensive line and the secondary are failures, if you could just play that sweet music.
Up to Alabama standards, the Alabama offensive line and Alabama defensive backs have been failures this year.
There we go. All right, everything's fine. We can order has been restored. The team will be 100%. That's what Saban wanted. He wanted to hear something negative about the team. That's it. We found it. And now there's nothing to worry about either.
Yep. I'll tell you guys, something you won't hear a lot of negativity about, though, is the Roo Sport. Those Roo Sport pouches are great for running, for hiking, for camping, for going to theme parks, for going to Halloween Horror Nights. Adam, tell them what you use yours for.
I use mine to defend the pass, and that's why often people score on me in the passing game. Because unfortunately, it doesn't block things very well. So for me, I wish I had thought to take it to Halloween Horror Nights because I had my annual pass around my neck. Yeah. And honestly, I spent the entire time with that lanyard fooling with it the whole time. And I wish I had thought to take it then between that and my phones. But no, we've talked about training for races. I actually take it to the gym with me now. It's easy to stow away. It's easy to put in a locker or some of the smaller lockers that we have at our gym. And so I'm actually finding new ways and things where either like with Halloween Horror Nights where I wish I had taken it or actually taking it to the gym and using it for something other than just my outdoor runs. So it's been good.
They also, we talked about this last week. They have those Roo Sport loungers. And Adam, I meant to put it in my carry-on. I haven't opened it yet, but it came in Friday as soon as I was about to leave.
Nice.
But I'm going to take it down to Tuscaloosa this weekend. And even though there's an 11 o'clock kickoff, I'm going to bring the lounger. And who knows, I'll probably fall asleep in that thing because it's such an early kickoff. I know, Ben, you don't like getting up early. Are you going to be at that game?
It's 11 o'clock. That's you put a prime breakfast in front of me and I can make an 11 o'clock kickoff. That's still late morning. We can do that. 11's doable.
Well, all right, Ben, what you can do is you can come hang out at our tailgate and see how cool this lounger is.
There we go. I'll take a nap in the lounger. I'll get down there and then I'll just finish sleeping.
There you go.
How big is it, like completely folded up and packed up, Dave?
Honestly, here, let me go get the box. Y'all talk amongst yourselves for a second. I haven't pulled it out of the box yet, so we can do an unboxing over the air.
Oh, wow, look at that. This is a premium ad, folks. You're not going to get this on any other podcast. An audio unboxing of a brand new product. This is exciting. Wait a minute. What kind of box is that, dude?
It is Priority Mail.
That thing is tiny. That thing fits in there.
That is a tiny box, Dave.
It's probably, an inch and a half thick and about 8 by 8, maybe?
Yeah, I'd say 8 by 11.
8 by 11?
Yeah. And it's... Here you go.
Now you're going to have to sit on it on the air and fill it up. Look at that. Listen to that packaging, folks. No, so I have to say that I won't spend any more time on this, but that's smaller than I thought it would be. You could have brought that with you.
I really could have. That's pretty cool.
Dave, you could tuck that under your arm and strike a Heisman pose.
Good. And It's got its own carrying bag too. But I'll tell you guys, if you want to go onto their website, they've got more than just those pouches. They've got these loungers. They've got some battery packs, which I kind of wish I had at the theme park because, what was it, about 12 o'clock, I had to stop using my phone because my phone was telling me 20%. I knew I still had 2.5 hours left. If I had one of those battery packs from Roo Sport, I would have been able to last throughout the rest of the night. But, guys, go onto their website. Use the promo code SIDELINE30. That's all lowercase, sideline, spelled the word sideline, and then also the number 30. They'll give you 30% off your entire order over there at www.theroosport.com. So, guys, something else that happened this weekend. It was a good weekend for sports for this sports podcast. Our Alabama Crimson Tide won, and on the very same day, the Atlanta Braves clinched the NL East.
How about that? And you were nervous because
I was.
Two teams doing that good right with each other doesn't usually happen.
Two teams doing that good never happens. And really, it was a good weekend for me because my Titans won, so I was 3 for 3.
Wow.
Adam, how'd your Cowboys do?
The what? I'm sorry?
Yeah, how'd your Cowboys do?
The audio's cutting out, Dave. You're going to need to move on to the next topic. Sorry.
But yeah, so the Braves have clinched, and not only have they clinched, they're now second place in the home field advantage for the National League. And I hadn't seen, but I think they're just a couple of games behind the Cubs. And as we're recording this podcast right now, the Cubs are losing to the Pirates. So what are your thoughts going forward for how this playoff could end up?
There's nothing left to do but to win the whole dang thing.
Yeah, come on now. You're delusional if you think that this Braves team can beat the Red Sox or the Yankees.
Now, wait a minute now.
Dave, it's baseball.
Have we
Any team
flipped?
can win on any given day.
I thought Ben was the only one making the point about a 7-game series against the Red Sox.
No,
Are we all saying that it's not possible?
I'm saying it's not possible right
We're
now.
unbuckled?
I'm not unbuckled. I'm a huge fan. I'm not saying it can't happen, but it's very, very unlikely, and I'm forcing myself to realize that, you know what, this probably isn't going to happen.
I want to be clear. That was a point I made in the late summer. We're in the playoffs, and the Braves can beat anybody in the playoffs because anybody can beat anybody in the playoffs. If Dave thinks Old Dominion can beat Alabama in football...
Hold up.
That's what you said. You said anything can happen.
Saturday.
Any given Saturday.
Okay.
I'm just saying.
True story.
I'm just saying. When you look at these winning percentages and you look at them as actual percentages, the Braves win 56% of their games. The Cubs win 58 or 59% of their games. There's not that big of a difference between 56 and 58. It's basically the same thing. Any of these teams can win if they get hot and have the right things happen. And if the Braves play their best baseball, they can take any of these teams in a 7-game series.
Hot takes by Ben Foster. I agree to disagree.
That's not a prediction. It's just a possibility.
But so for home field advantage, though, we just swept the Phillies, right?
Right. But
we play them again, right?
Right.
So we just keep on winning.
And first, the Braves have to play the Mets before they play the Phillies again.
Right. They start that tomorrow. Tukey's pitching tomorrow, and I don't know who's after that. Probably Tehran and Nuke.
Well, Tehran just went. Right now, the Nationals are at 500 in their winning percentage, and the Phillies are a game above 500. It's very possible that when the season's over, the Braves are going to be the only team in the East above 500.
And that's not a good thing. That makes our win kind of tainted, I think, because that says, hey, you won a bad division. All right, Nuke is pitching on Wednesday. And let's see who's pitching on Thursday. Tehran is pitching on Thursday.
Really? Okay. I guess he's back up sooner than I thought.
Yeah. So we've got Tukey, Nuke, and Tehran. I just love saying his name, Tukey.
Tukey and Nuki.
Tukey and Nuki. And Tehrani. That doesn't work.
Not really.
So let's walk through this here. Something that I find very very shocking. There is a possibility that there could be a 4-way tie at the very end of the season. A 4-way tie between the Brewers, the Cardinals, the Dodgers, and the Rockies. So this is what would happen if that's the chance. Now the Brewers would have to go 2-4, the Cardinals and the Dodgers would have to go 4-2, and the Rockies would have to go 6-1 to set this scenario up. But if that happens on Monday, the Rockies and the Dodgers would play for the National League West, and the Brewers and the Cardinals would play for a wild card spot. And on Tuesday, the loser of the Colorado Dodgers and the loser of the Brewers-St. Louis matchups would have to play for the other wild card spots. And then on Wednesday, you'd have the wild card spot. So that puts the Cubs or the Braves in a pretty good position because that team would have to have their fourth starter going for the National League Division Series.
Yeah, I think that's pretty rare. I don't know that we're gonna see that happen, but that's exactly the kind of chaos I hope happens in a week like this. The Braves have clinched. Everybody else is still trying to fight to sort it out. It's still mathematically possible that the Cubs don't win. They don't win the Central. They've not clinched their playoff spot yet.
That's true, but they're the best team in the National League right now. I don't see any way they don't make it to the playoffs. I'm very shocked they haven't clinched yet.
It's because Milwaukee has played so well. Milwaukee's 2.5 games back on the Cubs. Milwaukee's got a better winning percentage than the Braves right now.
That's true. So let's go ahead and play this out. So we know we think we know the American League teams. It's going to be Boston, New York, Cleveland, and Houston. And then Oakland will be the other wild card. So Oakland, New York, Boston.
Unless Tampa wants to do something fancy here.
Oakland's already clinched.
No.
Yes, there's an X by their name.
No.
Yeah, I'm looking at MLB.com
They did.
right
They
now.
just did a few minutes ago.
Oh, then I need to refresh my page.
Yeah.
Yes, you do.
Literally in the like while we've been recording, Oakland.
Yes, it was right after we started. Yep.
So there
because
we have
Tampa
it.
lost. Yeah, lost to New York. So it's the
So
American League.
now we do know our American League. So it's pure chaos in the National League, though.
So Boston will be playing the winner of the wild card between the Yankees and the A's. Which, can you imagine the first American League Division Series will be Boston, presumably Boston and New York?
That's what you pay for, right?
Good grief, that's what you pay for. So presumably, I'm just going to play it out in my head here. Boston and New York, Cleveland and Houston. If you take that down, I'd say New York beats Boston in that, and I'd take Houston over Cleveland. Yankees and the Astros for the American League. So let's try to play out the National League. Do y'all agree with me on my assessment of the American League, by the way?
I mean, it's a flip of the coin on these wild card games. Why couldn't Oakland beat the Yankees?
Because the Yankees are a power team, and I don't see a Moneyball team beating a power team.
Oh, I do.
So you have the
I
A's
would
beating.
love that.
Some of these power bats, you just have an off night and everybody strikes out, or you fly out to center field the whole night. I actually think the fact that the Yankees rely on power so much makes them susceptible. And you've also got Didi Gregorius, who has injured his wrist and is not going to be playing. So you've got you're weaker on defense. You're missing his bat. The Yankees are susceptible, and it's one game. Anybody can win.
Okay. So prove me wrong. Who do you have? So what's your wild card then? Walk me through it.
Well, I'm just saying it's a flip of the coin. Yankees or A's, either one could win.
The likelihood is that the Yankees would win, but I wouldn't count the A's out altogether.
Okay. Well,
But I still hang on. I want to take looking at the standings right now. Where the Braves are today, they're higher than everybody in the Central. They got a better record than everybody in the AL Central.
Okay.
There are two teams, the Stros and the A's, are above them in the West. And then obviously the Red Sox and the Yankees are above them in the East.
So 4 of the 5 playoff teams have better records than the Braves.
So given that the Red Sox have existed in a division where the Braves still would have been a top 5 team. is the Red Sox's win record inflated by the fact that the AL only has a handful of teams that are good this year?
No, the Red Sox aren't that good.
They're that good.
When they came into the National League and played in National League parks and interleague play, they dominated.
The Red Sox have got to be the favorite. They look very dominant. 106 wins speaks for itself, but also they got more games against Baltimore than a lot of folks.
That's exactly what I'm saying.
That helps. If Baltimore is better, if they have a winning percentage above, I don't know, 300, if Baltimore is more like a 400 winning percentage team, that makes things a little bit more difficult. So maybe Boston has a couple fewer losses. So instead of being a 106 win team, they're actually like 104, 103 win team.
So they're still slightly above the Yankees then, in your mind.
I mean, there's no doubt.
In that scenario.
In a situation where Baltimore is better, maybe they pick up an extra couple wins off the Yankees and an extra couple wins off the Red Sox, because any team can win on any given day. Boston's still going to win the division. Boston's really good.
Yeah, they're very, very good. They're one of the best baseball teams ever put together.
But it doesn't hurt being able to have Baltimore in your division and catching some of these other teams at the right time. But Cleveland's inflated because they scooped up a lot of wins against some really weak competition. Looking at you, Detroit, White Sox, Kansas City.
Right.
So Cleveland's definitely inflated. You put Cleveland in almost any other division, their winning percentage is not 561. They're probably right at 500.
I would like to think we live in a world where it doesn't have to be the Red Sox and the Yankees.
Well, you do live in a world where you can think that way, but it's an actual world where that exists. So you have to actually live with that reality and know that it's going to be the Red Sox or Yankees winning this World Series.
No, I disagree.
Now,
Agree to disagree.
What can make this World Series even better, knowing that the Braves could lose this and potentially would lose this, I would love to see a Braves-Yankees or Braves-Red Sox World Series.
Well, I've always thought of the Red Sox as my American League team, so I would love to see a Braves Red Sox series where the Braves take it in 7.
I'd love to see that too, and if that happens, and
sorry, Ben, there's a reality you have to exist with.
Right,
it's not going to happen.
And if and only if that happens, and if and only if the Braves get into the World Series, I will call this entire Braves team a failure, just for you, Ben.
There we go.
Sweet.
There we go.
So we've looked at the scenarios for the American League. The National League, it's a cluster right now. I'm going to say my scenario. I'm going to say the Cubs win the Central. Of course, the Braves win the East. I'm going to put the Rockies winning the West. That would give me Milwaukee and the Dodgers as my wild card teams. I'll take Milwaukee playing the Cubs, the Braves playing the Rockies, Braves and Cubs win in 6. So you'll have a Cubs and Yankees World Series.
Yeah.
You don't like that, Ben?
That doesn't sound fun at all.
The baseball purist in me says these are two of the oldest teams. That is a great World Series when you look at it.
Yeah, I generally like it when the older franchises are the ones in the World Series. But just thinking about the Yankees being there with the Cubs, it's just all the money, all the power, all the time. No, thank you.
I think it's a great World Series. I'd love to see it.
Well, I would definitely be pulling for the Cubs at that point.
I would too. I'd put on my Harry Carey outfits and, hey, what if the moon was made of cheese? Would you eat it?
If you were a hot dog, would you eat yourself? I know I would. I cover myself in mustard and I'd be delicious.
All right, so we've had this discussion for 3 weeks, but now that it's a reality, who will be the Braves' number 1 starter for the first division playoff game?
I think it's going to be Foltynewicz.
Okay.
I think you go with Folty. I think he's
too.
earned it on the season.
Yep.
I'd agree with Folty on this one. I'd go my 3. If we're just going to take a 3-man roster, I go Folty, Gossman, and Anibal Sanchez. I don't put Nuke. I don't put Tehran in there because the last couple of weeks Nuke has been off.
Yep.
So you'd go with Gossman. How did the Braves get Gossman?
Okay, Ben, you were correct on that trade. You were right for once, but
Wow.
For
Gossman,
once, I'm gonna cut that audio and just put it on repeat. That'll be the podcast for this week.
An hour of that.
Just an hour of
I don't
Dave
think
going,
so.
"You were right. You were right." I may just put that on the outtakes. That may just be the outtakes. It's all just
you were right. You were right. You were
Ben.
right. No, that would mean you had to edit too much. I know you wouldn't do that.
Yeah, I definitely wouldn't. I definitely wouldn't do that. I wouldn't do that at all. My 3-man rotation, if you go with that, is going to be Fultonevich and Newcomb and Sanchez, and I might kind of play it out where if the Braves win the first game, you go with Newcomb second. If the Braves don't win the first game, I go with Sanchez second because you need his experience going in there. Right. So that's kind of where I lean. I think you use Gossman as a super stopper. If one of those guys gets in trouble, Gossman comes in and gives you 5 innings so you don't wear out the bullpen.
I don't even put Tehran on the playoff roster if I'm the Braves.
Well, we said that last week, but Tehran looked inspired over the weekend. He had one of his best outings of the year.
But
Well, it depends on if you go off of stats and sabermetrics or if you go off of gut feel. I mean, gut feel would say Newcomb, right, over Tehran.
Right.
Oh, definitely.
If you had to choose between the two, but stats and sabermetrics would actually point you, in some cases, to Tehran.
Right. So let me ask you this, Ben. If it's between Tehran or Tukey for a roster spot, who do you put? Who do you give it to?
Oh, for a roster spot?
Right, for a roster playoff spot.
You got to go with Tehran. As much as I would love to get Tukey out there and get him some extra experience, you got to go with Tehran's seasoning. Even though he's inconsistent, Tukey's not perfect either. And you send a rookie out there who's only played in 5 or 6 major league games. You send him out there in a playoff game? No, that's a great way to give a guy a complex that carries over into other seasons. You gotta go with the veteran. You gotta go with the experience, even if there's some liabilities there.
Okay. Once again, agree to disagree. I think that Tukey's got the better arm. I think Tukey's pitched the better way. I don't like what Tehran's done in the year. He looks better on the road. And if the Braves get home field advantage, the on-the-road spot isn't going to be good. He pitches horribly at SunTrust Park. You've got to go with the guys that pitch better at SunTrust Park. And I don't give Tehran a roster spot for the playoffs. I just don't.
I don't see how you don't have Tehran on there. I think you keep all 5 of your starters, and I think they got to be there. And I don't think it's going to come down to Tehran or Toussaint. I don't think that's a debate the Braves are having. I think Tehran has earned the spot, even though there's been a lot of rough outings for him this year. I think Tehran's been through a lot with this team, and you don't just say, "Oh, we like this guy; he's been around for a while." But experience matters, and that's why you got to stick with Tehran. I dogged him last week, and of course he then has a great outing after that. It was almost like I put Dave magic on him, and you got to stick with Tehran in some way, shape, or form. I don't know that he's one of your top 3 starters at this point, but I think you got to have him on the roster.
Okay. All right. Well, there you go. There's our Braves talk. We did our Bama talk. And now it's time for the picks. Adam, go ahead and tell them who's in the lead for the picks. You're muted, Adam.
Sorry. Not including the point tiebreaker. We're tied, Dave.
No, but that's what the point tiebreaker's for. So who's
you
in
are.
the lead? Okay.
You are.
Okay.
At the
Go
moment.
ahead and
But
run down
anything
the
could
stats.
happen. So we've both gotten 65 out of 84, so just over 77%. Ben's at 63 out of 84 at exactly 75.0%.
Boom.
So, right there, could strike at any moment.
He won't, though. Okay, Ben, go ahead and hit us with those picks.
What are you guys doing Thursday night?
Probably watching football.
How about North Carolina at number 16 Miami? We weren't sure where Miami had fallen to. They are number 16 in the land. This game's at Hard Rock Stadium in Miami. Who do you guys like for the Thursday night ACC special?
Carolina's a hot load of garbage this year. I'm going Miami.
Yeah, I agree, Miami.
Carolina is laughably bad. You got to go with the Hurricanes. All right. How about, let's see, going to save the SEC games. How about an 11 a.m. kickoff between Syracuse and Clemson? This one's in Clemson, but last year Syracuse gave Clemson their first loss. What's going to happen in this game?
Won't happen this year. I think Clemson's finally getting their team right. They finally stopped with the stupid two-quarterback system. I think Clemson will win this one in a rout.
Yep, Clemson's no Florida State, so they're going to take it over Syracuse.
Speaking of Florida State, I think Adam almost killed me at a local restaurant there in St. Cloud. A whole lot of Seminole fans walked in, and I can't remember what I said, but I said some snide remark about the Seminoles, or I call them the criminals out loud. And
out loud at a non-reasonable volume as well.
Yeah. I think Adam kind of hit his face a little bit. I think he forgot what it was like to hang out with me on football Saturdays.
Picking a fight with Florida State fans, always.
Well, they're just
always
not used. They're just not used to hearing any of that down here. So,
yeah, I'm gonna have to go with Clemson because they are not Florida State. Hey, how about a Big 12 matchup with two ranked teams? That's kind of rare. 11 a.m. Number 12 West Virginia on the road at number 25 Texas Tech. I've been dogging Texas Tech, and here they are 3-1, climbing into the top 25. What's going to happen with this game in Lubbock?
Well, they'll fall out of the top 25 once West Virginia takes them home on that country road.
Well, wherever they go, they're going to lose. So yeah, West Virginia is going to beat them.
It should be a big day for Will Grier. You certainly think West Virginia's got an advantage, but I think with the home field and the way Texas Tech is slinging the ball, I am on the Tech bandwagon, and home field advantage goes a long way. I'm gonna take the Red Raiders at home, upset special. All right, Central Michigan taking on number 21 Michigan State. Dave, you said any team can win on any given day. Are you going to pick Central Michigan?
It's hitting the row the boat Central Michigan. This is not going to happen. Michigan State wins.
Yeah, Michigan State's one of those teams that I'll tend to give an upset special to every now and then, just because they seem to always find a way to lose one or two every year, but not this week. Michigan State's going to win.
Gotta go with Michigan State there. How about Baylor on the road at number 6 Oklahoma? Oklahoma almost lost to Army. They had to go to overtime. Is it possible the Sooners are flawed and could cough one up at home against Baylor?
The Sooners are flawed, but they will not cough it up at Baylor. I do want to say something, though. Us as Alabama fans over the years have dogged Oklahoma fans because they are a very rabid fan base. But I want to give a huge shout-out to the Oklahoma fans that were in that stadium on Saturday. As Army left the field, the Oklahoma fans were giving them a standing ovation and cheering for Army. Good job by the Oklahoma fans on that. Because of that, I'm actually going to pick Oklahoma this week.
Yeah, that's definitely admirable. I mean, the stats line up really easily on this one. I mean, the two teams seem matched on paper. I think when you come down to the realistic nature of the game, though, Oklahoma's going to carry it.
I think Oklahoma's going to be back on track. I'm going to have to take the Sooners winning convincingly over Baylor. Pittsburgh takes on number 13, the defending national champions UCF in Orlando. Pitt always somehow finds a way to have that one crazy upset. Is this going to be that game?
No, UCF wins. And in fact, I'm going to go out on a limb here, and I'm going to change my tune a little bit. I want UCF to be undefeated throughout the rest of this year because I had some UCF fan in the airport. Of course, on Friday, I'm wearing all my Alabama stuff because I always do when I fly. And a UCF fan was watching the game, and he comes over and starts talking to me. And he says, "Yep, if we go undefeated this year, the playoff committee has to put us in the top 4. They have to. There's no way around it." I just smiled and nodded. So I hope that UCF goes undefeated, so the playoff committee will once again say, "Sorry, play somebody on your schedule." But I'm going to say UCF wins this game.
Yeah, nobody has to do anything just because you end up winning every game when you're in a conference like they're in. I think UCF beats Pitt this week. They're overmatched for where they are right now, and they honestly need to reevaluate their future scheduling choices and what conference they may even belong to at the end of the day. If they maintain this level of success, they're only hurting themselves staying where they are. So UCF will win this week.
I'm gonna pick Central Florida as well. Number 18, Texas, seemingly back on track after a couple of wins. Here, they're taking on Kansas State in Manhattan. Who do you guys like for this one?
Hey, Adam, who's the only guy that picked Texas last week?
And who was the only guy who picked Texas the week before that?
Well, still, I was on the Texas bandwagon long before you were. I got Texas winning this game.
Yeah, Texas, for sure. You threw me off with any commentary on that one, but yeah, Texas.
Oh, man, I'm so tempted to pick Kansas State right now. I've been saying Texas is flawed. I'm tempted. Should I do it? No, I'm not going to do it. I'm going to go with Texas as well. I'm going to side with you guys. But I really wanted to pick Kansas State. And last week I really wanted to pick Kentucky, so we see how that goes. So Texas there. Number 14, Michigan, taking on Northwestern in Evanston, Illinois. Who do you guys like for that one?
Maize and Blue takes this one.
Yeah, Big Blue.
I mean, sure, why not? Let's do Michigan there. Nobody's gonna lose to Northwestern, right?
Right.
Virginia Tech. Poor Virginia Tech. Coming off of their first loss of the season. One in which they lost to Old Dominion. Whew. Taking on a 4-0 team, the number 22 team in the country. Do you know who that is? Duke. Virginia Tech at Duke in beloved Wallace Wade Stadium. All Bama fans should love that. Who do you guys like in this game?
Do you know the last time both Duke and Kentucky was ranked in the football polls at the same time? It's never happened. This is the first time it's ever happened. 537 times in the basketball polls, but it's only happened once now in the football polls. I picked Virginia Tech to come off strong on this one. I think Duke is a flash in the pan. I'm going to take Virginia Tech winning.
Yeah, I'm like you with the last one, or with Kansas State. I'm really tempted to pick Duke, and I would love for David Cutcliffe to get a signature win this week. Even though I don't know if losing Old Dominion makes it signature the following week, but I think Virginia Tech's going to bounce back and beat Duke.
So both of you guys are taking Tech?
Yep.
I would like to thank you for giving me the opportunity to gain some ground on you in our picking contest, because I'm taking number 22, Duke. They're going to start the season 5-0. That's pretty cool.
You know what they'll start the season next year?
0-1.
0-1.
0-1. All right, there's a night game going on. There's a team number 4, Ohio State, taking on number 9, Penn State. It's a top 10 matchup by a couple of schools with some less than stellar situations in the past decade. These scandalous Big Ten schools. What's going to happen in this game, guys?
I have been racking my brain about this one for a while. My brain says to pick Ohio State. My heart says to pick Penn State. You know what? Screw it. Penn State.
Wow. Yeah, I hate to say it. Ohio State is the next best thing compared to Alabama. I think they're the only other team other than Alabama that should be favored to win every game from here on out. So I would say Ohio State, unfortunately. It hurts, but there it is.
Ohio State is not ready for a night game against Penn State. I'm going to pick the Nittany Lions to get the home win. Here's another top 10 matchup, perhaps less legitimate teams being in the top 10 than Ohio State and Penn State. Number 7, Stanford, after narrowly beating Oregon, taking on number 8, Notre Dame, who some people think does not belong in the top 10, myself included. Who do you guys like in this battle between the Cardinal and the Irish?
I like Stanford.
Yeah. If I pick, well, we differed a couple of times, Dave. We've been mostly down the line together.
Yeah.
I'm just not that. I want to pick Notre Dame. I just honestly haven't been that impressed by Notre Dame. So I think I'm going to have to go with Stanford, too.
All right.
Notre Dame's been unimpressive. They have made some changes, though. I think they've got a new quarterback in there. They seem to have figured some things out. And while I probably would have picked Stanford earlier, they've got some flaws that were kind of shown in that game against Oregon. And if Notre Dame takes care of the ball, I think they're going to get the win. So I will take the Irish there. All right, number 20, BYU, on the road at number 11, Washington. We're at that time of year where we're actually finally getting some good top 25 matchups. Who do you guys like in this game?
If you stay awake to watch this game, good on you. But I'm going to have Washington winning this.
This one's not that late. It's 6:30 Central Time.
Oh, really? I figured it'd be one of those Pacific time games.
We haven't gotten to Pac-12 After Dark yet. That's coming. That's coming.
Yeah, there are a lot of good top 25 matchups this week. This isn't going to be one of them. Washington's going to handle this one pretty well.
I watched BYU early in the season and thought, wow, they're not impressive. And since then, they've become impressive. But they're not impressive enough to take down Washington in Seattle. So I will pick the Huskies. All right, we're going to keep scrolling. Here's your Pac-12 After Dark, Dave. Are you ready for this one? A top 25 matchup. Number 19, Oregon, taking on number 24, California.
I like Oregon.
Oregon and Cal.
I have been telling you for weeks, do not pick against Mario Cristobal. He might have slipped this week, but I'm going to pick Oregon.
Yeah, I agree. They showed themselves to be pretty solid last week. I think they'll finish the job against Cal this week.
Gotta think Oregon's going to bounce back. They're going to have a good chip on their shoulder after giving that one away to Stanford. So those are your top 25 matchups. Let's get to some SEC action. There's one game, Arkansas versus Texas A&M. A&M bouncing back after playing Alabama. What do you guys think will happen?
A&M will destroy Arkansas. It won't even be close.
Yeah, Arkansas might as well just go ahead and start their second stringers just to keep the first string healthy. This is going to be bad for those guys.
Got to think the Aggies are going to walk away with that one. Tennessee is on the road at number 2, Georgia. Any chance Jeremy Pruitt gets a signature win against Kirby Smart?
None. That sideline is a mess right now, and it's not Jeremy's fault. He'll get his wins, but it will not be today.
Yeah, Tennessee might as well go ahead and just start their second string to keep their first string healthy in this one, just like Arkansas. They pretty much look like the same team right now, except I don't think Arkansas has had people start walking away yet.
No, they haven't.
But, yeah.
What an unfortunate game for CBS. Who wants to watch this? I'm going to pick the Bulldogs. Southern Miss is on the road at number 10, Auburn. Who do you guys like for that game?
I like Southern Miss, but I'm not picking them to beat Auburn. Auburn.
Here we are again, another one. I mean, all three of these so far are going to be pretty lopsided, so I've got Auburn too.
Southern Miss quarterback has more passing yards than Jarrett Stidham. Does that matter?
And no.
No, of course not. Auburn winning. Tennessee State versus Vandy. Anybody want to watch that game?
I'm sorry, I blanked out. What were we talking about?
What?
I think we're all going to take Vandy. Speaking of things that might make you blank out, Florida versus number 23, Mississippi State. Dan Mullen returns to Starkville, but couldn't this game be a snooze? Neither team can score points.
I've got Mississippi State winning this because I think it means more to Mississippi State to beat Dan Mullen.
I think Dan Mullen's going to fire his guys up and bring him into town and take care of business. Mississippi State's going to be in a little bit of a hangover after losing last week like they did. I think Florida's going to take advantage of that, and they're going to have Mississippi State losing 2 in a row.
Ultimately, Dan Mullen's going to dominate this series, but right now I'm going to go with Mississippi State. All right, South Carolina taking on number 17 Kentucky, which will quite possibly determine which team is going to wind up second in the SEC East. We may have the second place in the SEC East decided this weekend. Who's winning this game?
Kentucky surprises me. I don't want to pick Kentucky here, but I think I'm going to have to. Kentucky.
Kentucky's number 17 in the country.
I know. Blows my mind.
Yeah, I'm going with Kentucky too, partly because of how well they've played, and also when it comes to a big game like this where South Carolina has something to prove. I never pick a bus champ team, so Kentucky.
If I heard the stat correctly, I believe Kentucky is 2-0 in the SEC. And the last time they had a 2-0 start in the conference was in 1977. Were either of you guys alive then?
No, believe it or not.
This is the best Kentucky team of our entire lives. How can I pick against them right now? I want to pick South Carolina so badly, but I can't. I'm going with Big Blue. Ole Miss taking on number 5 LSU. This is a late night game. They're getting started around 8 o'clock Central Time in Baton Rouge. Surely the number 5 team hangs on here, right?
I feel so sorry for any Ole Miss fans that make the trip down to Baton Rouge. The game is kicking off at 8 o'clock. That means that all LSU fans will be liquored up and drinking for at least 16 hours. I really want to pick Ole Miss to win this game, but I just don't think they can do it in that environment. I'm going to take LSU.
You actually give Ole Miss the advantage in that department because ever since 62-7, they've probably been drinking for the last 2 weeks straight. So,
okay.
I mean, this one, LSU, it's going to be about as bad as Alabama's game against Ole Miss was.
LSU has a defense. Ole Miss doesn't. It's that simple. Gotta pick the Fighting Tigers. All right, one game left to pick, and we need not just a win-loss prediction, but a score prediction as well. That is Louisiana, the Ragin' Cajuns, formerly the University of Louisiana Lafayette. They're taking on the Alabama Crimson Tide, the number 1 team in all of the land. And that is an 11 a.m. early game. Who do you guys like?
Alabama 63-7.
Yeah, I'm tempted to pick an upset special here. No, I'm not. I agree, and just to get the point differential tighter, I'm going to say 65-7. $1, Bob.
$1.
I think everything says Alabama should win convincingly. No reason to think that won't be the case. But I think the Alabama's going to be having a tough week thinking about all of the negative things the media has said about them after Saban asked them to. With that in mind, I think Alabama is going to win this game 56-10.
Okay. So there are the picks. You've heard our takes on baseball and football. Ben, hit him with your sideline warning.
My sideline warning is simple, and it may be a little bit redundant, but I've got to go back to the National League standings and just say one more time, look at this chaos. It's beautiful, and that's what makes baseball so good. And if you're a Braves fan, you can sit back and enjoy it. It doesn't get much better than that. Enjoy this week. It may actually be more exciting right now figuring out how the National League shakes out. That may be more exciting than the actual first round of the playoffs. So to the Cubs and the Brewers and the Cardinals and the Dodgers and the Rockies, may the best team win, or the best teams win. I'm looking forward to it and excited. I've got some MLB Network and all of that kind of good stuff to be able to watch this. This is exciting baseball, and it's what makes the game so good. So baseball fans, don't get bogged down with the football stuff this week. and embrace how good baseball is the final week of the season.
Welcome to Choptober, everybody. It's about to be Choptober. There you go. Ben's doing the chop. All right, Adam. I know you've been waiting for this.
So, I don't know how many people have seen. I don't think I actually posted it out to the fan group page, Davis, so I need to do that. But someone tweeted something about Tim Brando and why no one takes him seriously, because he had some stuff to say about Frost over at Nebraska and how impactful he was going to be. And I believe the quote was that he'd be the Nick Saban of this current generation. And so I just tagged him in a tweet and said, "Hey, Tim Brando, you so funny. Still waiting for you to come on the show so we can have that debate about professionals versus hacks," because he's obviously so professional with a take like that. To which he had this long reply about our beloved Saban losing in his first year to ULM, and that he hopes that our audience is larger than our laughable Twitter following. And so he then proceeded to block me on Twitter. Just me personally, not the show, not Dave, not Ben, nothing like that. Just me personally. So, Tim Brando, don't be a punk. If you want to engage in debate and you want to throw out a hot take, engage in debate out there with the people. Don't block people who are sitting there saying stuff. You're a professional. You're out there in the open. Just take it for what it is and be a man. But my larger problem is that if we were different people, the three of us, and this podcast was the only thing we had, or if we were in a different mental state or a different place in our lives, and someone like a Tim Brando comes in and drops words like laughable to somebody about something that they obviously care about enough to do once a week, those words would mean something different to completely different people depending on who it was. And for somebody who's in the public sphere to directly insult someone like that, it's one thing to be on a show and say, hack shouldn't, people doing podcasts shouldn't have media credentials, things like that. That's fine. But just the word laughable means so pathetic and bad as to be amusing, basically. That could have meant something to somebody much more than it would have meant to the three of us. And you don't know who it is that you're talking to through the anonymity of the internet. And I think Mr. Brando needs to wake up. And you can have a hot take on TV. You can engage in debate with people, and we can sit here and we can kind of poke at each other and laugh at each other. But to actually step in and do an insult like that, then turn around and block, it means you meant it. I cheesed you off a little bit, Tim Brando, because you wouldn't have blocked me if it wasn't that way. So I did make you mad, and you decided to jab back. But you don't know who I am, and you don't know what that would have meant to me. So someone like you who's going to step out in the public sphere and do things like that, you need to think a little bit more carefully about what you say to people, because I've seen on your feed, because I actually looked around a little bit before I said anything, I've seen pictures of you with family and the children in your family. What if those kids in those pictures you were holding would have been the guy who this random dude from the internet says is laughable with something he's passionate about? What if that was those kids? What if that was your grandchildren or your son, if you have one? They would have said that too. How would you have felt? So I think you need to step back, Mr. Brando. My feelings aren't hurt, but if I had been somebody different, you need to look in the mirror and think about the impact that your words would have had to somebody and could have to somebody before you just start spouting off the mouth on Twitter. And I'm done.
Do I have to do a sideline warning now? Because can we end the show? Because that was perfect.
Cue the music.
Cue the music. No. I guess I have to now because it's kind of tradition, but
do it, Dave, do it.
Well said, Adam. Go. Well said. Wow, I didn't expect that. All right. Well, I've got two. One of them is a tribute, and the other one is kind of along those same lines, but much, much, much more tame. I'll go with the jab at somebody first. For the most part, I like Gary Danielson as a color analyst on CBS, but here lately, it seems that he is so anti-Alabama, it's not even funny. If you went back and watched that obvious helmet-to-helmet call, Danielson was trying to find a way to say, well, it's okay because, this other guy lowered his head and hit him into him, and it's not Texas A&M's fault. Alabama just shouldn't have been doing that. It's so obvious that he's rooting against Alabama that it's almost, sorry, Adam, laughable, because he he wants to see Alabama fail. And I don't know if that's CBS's MO because they want the ratings or if that's truly Gary Danielson's thought process. But if Gary Danielson can't, for lack of a better term, keep it in his pants when Alabama does something bad, then I think it's time that Gary Danielson hangs it up and gets out of the unbiased sphere and go and work as a color commentator for a team where you can be truly biased. I saw it again. They were talking, all throughout Saban's career. They're talking about how bad of a disciplinarian he is, how much it's horrible to be that harsh on your players. Yet they were praising Jimbo Fisher because they said, "Oh, you can't come and play for Jimbo Fisher's team because he expects it and he will come down hard on you in practice." But just 2 weeks ago, you're saying how bad Saban was for that. That's unacceptable. If you're going to say that about Saban, say that about Jimbo. If you're going to say that he's a disciplinarian, then talk bad about Jimbo like you did Saban. Gary Danielson, if you're going to be biased, then you don't belong in CBS as the main color guy. My next one, I'm not a White Sox fan. Nobody on here is a White Sox fan. But one of the greatest color commentators of all time called it quits on Sunday, Hawk Nelson, for the White Sox, longtime color commentator. He makes all these awesome calls. If you've heard anybody say, "He gone," or if you heard someone say, "You can put it on the board," yes, that's Hawk Nelson. He is one of the greatest color commentators to ever call a game on TV. I can remember watching White Sox games on WGN and thinking he was one of the coolest guys to listen to. He paints a picture when he's doing it on TV where you don't even have to really paint a picture. Hawk Nelson, you will be missed. Thank you for all your years in the booth. Even though I'm not a White Sox fan, you put up some amazing calls that was fun to watch and fun to listen to. But that's my sideline warning. I think the trophy for best sideline warning, of course, goes to Adam today. He said it wonderfully. Tim Brando, if you're going to go and spout off at the mouth, know who you're spouting off about. Be careful who you spout off and why you spout off.
Hey, and if you're going to spout off, engage in debate, you big punk. And I would drop the mic, but this sucker was expensive.
Hey, and I will say, if Brando is listening, which I'm sure he is, the invitation is still out there. We would like to have you on here and have a civil debate. We can be civil if you can be civil as well. But, Adam, if they want to have a take and engage in a civil conversation with us, how can they get a hold of the show?
They can give a call to 931-44-BLITZ, a Google Voice number that we've set up, and they can leave a voicemail there. We'll play that voicemail on the show, react to it, answer a question if it is one, or just play your take and then talk about it. So if you want to interact with the show, if you want your voice to be heard, 931-44-BLITZ.
Adam, you cut out for a second, but we'll go ahead and say that again, 931-44-BLITZ.
Sorry about that. Yeah. I was talking the whole time, I promise.
All good. Well, you can call that Google Voice number. You can also interact with us on Twitter. We're at SW The Show. I am at DAdams419. Ben is at TheBenFoster. And Adam is at RunTideRun. And I promise Adam won't block you like some other people.
Hey, guys. Time out. I just have 2 timeouts left, and I know there's like 30 seconds left in the show, but I have 2 timeouts, and so I thought I would use one of them here, just because I still have 2 timeouts left, and I know there's only 30 seconds left, and I know the show's over, and there's not really anything I can do to change it, but I still
Jimbo.
I wanted to use Stop. One of my timeouts, so there we go.
Stop.
That was
Jimbo.
it. You can go ahead and finish up the show.
Fine. All right. Find us on Facebook. We're facebook.com/SW The Show. Also join in our Facebook fan group, Sideline Warning Fan Group. You can find us on Facebook if you search Sideline Warning Fan Group. But guys, as always, Ben, are you wanting to use your other timeout?
Actually, yeah, I would. I would like to use that. I have one more. I have 1 timeout left, and I know you really only have like one thing left to say. But I have a timeout, and so I would like to use my timeout. So I'm using it right here. So
now we're going to a TV timeout. Now you delayed us even more. Thank you.
Okay, well,
thank you.
But I had a timeout, and I want to use my timeouts because you can't take them with you. So there's my timeout. That's it. Thank you.
We love you. We'll see you guys next week. And roll tide. If I fall asleep while we're recording, just keep in mind I only got 6 hours of sleep this entire weekend.
Well, that's insane. Why would you do that?
Because we stayed at Horror Nights till 2:30 in the morning.
That's awesome. I'm really proud of y'all.
I didn't think we could make it.
No, it was probably about 8 o'clock when we were just getting ramped, where David was like, "Oh yeah, I think maybe we might be cutting it at about midnight tonight." No.
Oh yeah, Dingo. He turned
Staying
into
the whole time.
after midnight. He turns into Coach O. Oh yeah, Dingo, we're
Turns
gonna
into
go to
Edward.
bed right now.
Jamaica got a bobsled team.
Kiss the egg, man.
So freezing, man. Ben, your upset mojo didn't work, did it?
It happens sometimes. 60% of the time, it works every time.
Next time we'll all know to pick Old Dominion.
Right. So
No.
Ben, you need to go down to Horror Nights. It's one if you get a chance to go
what
this year.
nights?
Horror.
Well, you
We're
guys,
good.
you guys may enjoy your haunted houses in Florida, but I like to go to the best little horror house in Texas.
It's like a lot of people on air can't say rural. I can't rural. I can't. It's hard for me to say horror. 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 Horror.
The horror.
It's funny though. They have a Chucky scare zone where he's made like toys come to life.
Like from the
And
Rugrats?
Chucky- No, like Chucky the doll. Chucky just
He's
roasts
gonna
people in the
coach the
crowd.
Raiders.
He's hilarious.
It's so funny. He asked this one dude what he did, and he said he worked in a radish warehouse. And Chucky was like, "Yell if you hate radishes," and everybody yelled. And he said, "Looks like you had a job." It's so funny.
Sounds a lot like Trump.
Actually, what do you do? Wrong.
Wrong.
Wrong. China.
You're just out of a job. You're fired. No one likes radishes.